Mr. Chairman, honored guest, and our fellow veterans. My fellow veterans, remember this is a rehearsal. My fellow veterans, I appreciate greatly the opportunity that you have given me to say, speaking to the coach, you given me the opportunity to speak a few words about our veterans. But before I go forward, I would like to ask a question, if you would please help me. If you are a veteran, and you served in the armed services of this country, or maybe even if you're on active duty, if you would please raise your hand and raise them high so I can see them. Okay, thank you, put them down. I take this opportunity to publicly salute you all for your service and sacrifice to our country. That is something that should be done every day because of the service that all of you veterans have done for this country. You know, there's a special group of veterans we really need to recognize today. Those are the World War I veterans. Yesterday was the 100th anniversary of the end of that war. Terrible war. 4.7 million Americans served over there, and 117,000 did not come home because they gave their life to their country over there. All those veterans have passed away now. The last remaining veteran of that war was Mr. Frank Buckles of Charlestown, West Virginia. He passed away on February 27th, 2011. They're all gone now, but they will never be forgotten as long as wonderful people like you come to these events to remember them. Okay. Despite what many people say, America is an exceptional country, and by definition, so are the veterans. All you've got to do is look at our history, and it'll plainly tell you that. Take, for example, to paraphrase Abraham Lincoln, 12 years ago, our forefathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation conceived in liberty, dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now, back in 1776, when this was going on, many were skeptical of this new country over there in America. That claimed they were going to have a new government that was of the people, by the people, and for the people. That was a radical concept back in those days. Even the Europeans kind of swaggered and looked over at us and said, there ain't no way that country's going to make it. They don't have a king. They don't have a ruling class to take care of the common folk. And they don't have a Gestapo-like police force to take care of the masses. Well, we all know we did survive. Not only did we survive, but we became the light of the world. A place where everybody looked at our people who were enjoying life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, free from being oppressed by a tyrannical government. It was a wonderful thing. And then consider this. When George Washington was sworn in as our first president back on April the 30th, 1789, in the Federal Hall up on Queen Street in New York City, as soon as the official ceremonies were over, Washington, being the good commander that he was, gathered up, formed them up, all the people in the government, all the senators, all the representatives, and marched them over to St. Paul's Chapel on Wall Street. Over there they had a prayer service. Washington asked the good Lord above to bless the new country, and then he did something a little different. He dedicated the nation to the Lord above, right there in St. Paul's Chapel. And you know what? That chapel is still there today, much as it was the day that Washington prayed there, right there on Wall Street. Down through the years, that chapel remained basically the same. Put in bathrooms or something. It remained basically the same. But New York City grew and grew and grew, and it surrounded that little chapel with tall buildings down there on South Manhattan. At one time, there were two big buildings next door to the chapel, known as the World Trade Center. On 9/11, when those buildings came down, all the buildings in the immediate vicinity were either destroyed or damaged except for one. came through that maelstrom of destruction totally unscathed. Want to guess which one it was? You know which one. It was St. Paul's Chapel. It survived that day without a mark on it. An incredible thing. That was the same building that George Washington dedicated this country to the Lord. Now, do you think maybe, just maybe, somebody up there might have been trying to send us a message? We don't know about that, but this is one thing we do know. God did answer George Washington's prayers for this country that day, because not only did we survive, but we went on to become the greatest nation on earth. We were the freest, the strongest, the richest, the happiest nation of them all. It was just like what Ronald Reagan said. America has become the shining city on the hill. The whole world looks to this country. People who are looking for freedom, liberty, and the opportunity to go as far as their abilities will allow. Oh, isn't that a wonderful thing? Unfortunately. There's always an unfortunately in these stories, a snag. The world we live in a fallen world. All those blessings that we've received over the years and earned, they all sort of came with a string attached to them. Because in that fallen world that we live in, there's lots of bad actors, many of whom look on this country with envy, and they covet the greatness of our success here. Unfortunately, down through the years, we've had to go to many wars throughout our history to protect our country, our people, and our Constitution from tyranny and communism. Ever since we've been a nation, we've gone to war. It seems like, and luckily, every time the storm clouds of war would form up on the horizon out there, and the call would go out for people to step forward to protect this country, Americans would always step forward to do that job. They came from the farms, they came from the factories, they came from the cities, they came from the schools, the churches, the mines, the fisheries, from across the nation to serve. They came from cities, towns, and villages and fought in wars almost too numerous to count. They fought in big ones like World War II. Well, many times people ask want to know the reason why we've survived and done well over the years. The answer is obvious. I submit to you it's because of these veterans here. Matter of fact, when this program's over, why don't you go up to them and shake their hands? You know where they are. I can speak from personal experience about these wars. It is a wonderful thing to serve in the military to help protect your country. It is a thrill to me to know that I had maybe just a small part in protecting our country. I had the privilege of spending a total of 20 years in the U.S. Army, 2 of which were in the Vietnam War. Looking back on those days, way back there, I've become to realize that all those challenges that we faced actually made me appreciate even more my country and serving my country. It's a very interesting process that people go through when they enter the military. Veterans already know this. In the beginning, when they're called to serve, it's challenging. When the recruit is transformed from a civilian into a real live soldier, sailor, airman, or, that is prearranged, or, that's right, the U.S. Marines. After they go through the training, they take their skills learned, many times protect the peace, but other times it's necessary that they go beyond keeping the peace and utilize those skills they've learned in war. Many times they run into situations that require the ultimate sacrifice by the veteran. In the Vietnam War alone, 58,318 Americans gave their lives. I still remember the faces of many of those people that died in that war. It was a terrible thing. Another interesting process that veterans go through, which we all know here, Once you go through your service and you face those challenges and you've overcome them and you become a veteran, automatically you seem to be forever bonded with all your fellow veterans because they have a shared experience of service to our nation. Everyone who becomes a member of that select society of people who have served our country in the military, all of them, or most all of them, will agree with this anonymous statement of veteran service. It goes something like this: I have done things that haunt me at night so that you can sleep in peace. I've been away from my family for a long time so that yours can be safe. I've sacrificed a lot in my life so that you all may live forever. I've done this because I've sworn an oath to my country, and I will stand by that oath until the day I die, because I am and always will be a U.S. veteran. Mr. Chairman.